so the 12 constellations as we know them, going from Aries all the way to Pisces. So ancient Babylonian, Roman, and Greeks then divided the ecliptic, which the ecliptic is how the sun travels through the sky from our point of view, right? So if we were to draw a line um, across the sky in the path that the sun travels via our point of view, that's the ecliptic, right? So ancient Babylonian, Roman, and Greek people divided that ecliptic into 12 equal parts and then assigned each part to a sign, um, which at the time was also associated with a deity, right? It had more influence of deities rather than scientifical degrees that we have today. It was very much so more focused on the deity and mythological aspect of it. So over time, the tradition carries and changes, and the original deities and associations that were originally set have changed into what we have now. So now we have this beautiful blend of the 12 zodiac signs mixed within the 12 or mixed within all of the planets and within our chart, right? So, yes, there are other constellations out there. I don't want to get that confused. However, they are not considered to have a significant bearing as of right now, right? They have yet to be studied. Astrology is ever growing, it's ever evolving. Who knows what's going to happen 500, 600 years from now? We may consider 3, 4 new constellations. Over time, people have tried to add in a 13th constellation. We've heard rumors about it here and there. Every once in a while, it pops back up, but it very quickly gets shut down just because tradition has carried over through that 12, and it creates all sorts of not only astrological issues, but a little bit of astronomical issues when taking them into consideration of astrology. So it never actually follows through. So what we have is our 12 sign wheel today. So what is the water of the zodiac? The water is the second in the order of creation when we're looking. So when we're looking at the minor arcana on tarot, the order of the creation goes from fire to water to air to earth. So we go from the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of fire to the 2 through 10 of water, then to the 2 through 10 of air, and then to the 2 through 10 of pentacles. So we are in the second stage in the order of creation. It is the stage where our emotions, our subconscious, and our past come into play. Right? So where the first stage was all about an inspiration, it was all about that fire, it was all about that inner energy, that heat, right? The water comes in. Well, now it says, okay, how do our emotions come into play? Where the passion brings the initial inspiration, the emotion carries it through, right? So that's where it comes into that second order of creation. So our water signs represent emotions. They represent the subconscious. They represent the past in general. That's why water signs are always known to be such psychic beings in general. Any water sign that you meet, probably a psychic being. They just have such empathy. They have, or not necessarily empathy, but they have such empathetic abilities. Whether or not they choose to use them, they are heavy empaths. Um, in their higher vibration, they represent healing, flowing energy, calm and tranquil energies, the energies that are peaceful. When you think of a lake at sunrise or sunset and everything is just blissful, and you maybe hear a slight shore crash um, up to the side of you, that is the higher vibration of that water. When we are looking at the lower vibration, we are looking at the destructive, the unpredictable, the overwhelming. We're looking at the tsunamis. We're looking at the flash floods. We are looking at rain that suddenly comes out of nowhere and just destroys everything. It is extremely destructive, and it rarely is ever isolated, and it often affects many people, right? So that's when water signs become in their lower state they often affect the people around them very heavily because they are so tapped into their emotions and to the other side and to that subconscious and the things that exist beyond the veil. They naturally are going to protrude or push that lower vibration out, right? And it's going to affect everyone around them, similar to how water can rarely be in its destructive state and remain isolated. So, the first sign when we're talking about water signs, it's the cardinal sign. It is the initiator of the water signs. It is Cancer. It is the empath of the signs. It is the one that is imbued with all of the emotion. While the other signs, yes, they do feel deep emotion, Cancer feels it on a particular level that no other sign can really relate to. Cancer has this deep well of emotions. They're ruled by the moon, being they are ruled by the emotional planet. So this is why they have an even intense focus on the emotional state, right? Scorpio, they have other focuses. Pisces, they have other focuses that we'll get into here. But Cancer, being ruled by the moon, it is all about the emotions. And its physical representation, because we're looking at the initiator water energy in life, we're looking at the initial flow of water, rain, smaller areas of water, and like day to day life. Think when you just turn on the faucet, or when you just turn on the shower, that initial flow of water, that is all Cancer energy. When you are going to wash your hands and you're just turning it on, Cancer energy. It is the physical manifestation of the initial flow of water. When we are looking at the physical representation, because each sign has a physical representation on the body, Cancer does represent the breast as well as the stomach area. So a lot of time Cancer is associated with foodies. Cancers are foodies. Why is that? Well, partially because they do rule over the stomach. They rule over the things that are nurturing because the moon is nurturing. The moon is tapped into emotions. It's tapped into empathy, and being in the sign of Cancer, it's going to have, or being ruling over the sign of Cancer, imbuing the energy into the sign of Cancer. Cancer is going to have this nurturing quality within it too. So oftentimes you'll see it associated with food. They may either love food, they love to cook food, they love to provide food to others, whether that be just grabbing it or ordering it, whatever they do. It's always in a sense of caring either for themselves or for others, and in its exalted state, being in its when we're tapping too much into that, you'll see people run to food. So comfort food is often a Cancer quality. Eating for the sake of comfort is a Cancer quality. So it is correlated with the fourth house of the home and roots. So when we're looking at the zodiac wheel, the fourth house is where Cancer typically sits when we're looking at the traditional wheel. It is also the fourth in the order of creation. So we talked about the order of creation going from fire to water. So the first in the order of creation, the stage is fire, but the actual sign in the order of creation is Aries, the second is Leo, the third is Sagittarius. Now moving into water, the fourth sign in the order of creation is Cancer. So it's the fourth in zodiacal order and the fourth in the order of creation. And when we're looking at the ages that it represents, Cancer represents ages 21 through 28, when we are truly developing our inner sense of emotion, when we're having to discover how to truly care for ourselves, right? How to care for the people around us, how to build a home outside of our roots and planting our own roots in this life. That's truly when that Cancer energy is taking hold. So we've kind of already talked about this, but Cancer energy, it's emotional. It is empathic. It's nurturing. It's focused on the family and the home. It has extremely strong ties to the past. Water in general carries energy of the past. When you're looking to tap more into the past, look to the sign of water. When we are looking at the sign of Cancer, it has a particularly strong connection to the past, right? And it craves inner comfort. So, in partial, part of the reason that it has such a strong tie to the past is because its correlation with the fourth house of the home and the roots, but also because it has its ruler being the moon as well. And the ruler typically, um, or the moon typically represents your mother or the maternal energy in your line, or the things that get passed down from your maternal line. So, with that being said, we're going to move on to the video that I have prepped here. But before I play this video, does anybody have um, anything, any questions or comments they want to put in so far? I feel like I've talked a lot and like I'm very monotone today. So I want to make sure that if anybody has any questions or anything, I'm answering them along the way. Feel free to pop them in. If not, I'll just go ahead and play the video, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear the audio as well. I mean, it's not a video, it's just audio. So, all right, I'm going to play this. I'm also going to shut off my camera and my mic while I do that.
Hey Tony. Tony, this is my friend Karen. We usually go live a lot, but we haven't been in a while because we've been doing our thing, teaching other people, elevating ourselves and picking ourselves. So I was like, you know what? Let me answer this one. Let's do it right now. Let's do it. Oh, hey Aaron. Nice to see you. Nice to see you again. Really? Oh, yes. Oh no. Okay.
So that one was brief, and I know that one was short. And I wanted it to be short for a reason because
Yes, you did, Aaron.
Cancer as a sign experiences this energy,
Up goes in,
this
Aaron.
whole 2.5 minutes worth of energy over and over and over and over again.
Aww.
Excuse me, that fan bothers me. So Cancer as a sign experiences this sign over this energy over and over and over again. So when we are looking at Cancerian people, so people who are born with their sun sign in the sign of Cancer, they have this energy flowing through their vitality at all times, which is why they've gotten the association with the emotions that they have. So, all of you Cancer people out there, it's not that you're emotional, right? I mean, yeah, you have intense emotions, but you are not emotional, right? You are experiencing this within your soul vibration at all times. So recognize that within you and give space and honor that because it's important. So moving on here, doesn't want to leave. There we go. Mary English said, imagine what it must feel like to be that cancer person and get those overwhelming feelings and to feel so overcome that other people feel they are drowning in them and nothing else will happen until they subside, right? So we feel the intense emotions of a cancer just being near them when they're in their lower vibrational state. Being that energy itself must be even more so intense. So I say this so you recognize the power that comes with cancer, because it's not just this emotional, nurturing, caring nature. It is also this intensely powerful nature that can be used in a way that either spreads its anger and hatred around or it spreads its emotional light around. If you've met a cancer that's existing with its higher vibrational state, you know what it's like to be truly nurtured and to feel truly seen because they want you to feel like you're being truly cared for and they want you to feel like you're at home and comfortable because they're existing within their higher state and tapping into that higher nature and sharing their care through that rather than the anger through the lower vibrational state. So notable cancers can include Ariana Grande, Lana Del Rey, Khloe Kardashian, Kevin Hart, and Chris Collins. If you're familiar on TikTok, you know Chris Collins, or if you're familiar with some of the like comedians on TikTok, you might know Chris Collins, I should say. But I mean, all of these people have very intense emotions included in whatever it is that they do, right? Kevin Hart, very intense emotions. He's kind of known for being very intense in the things that he does and says, and he reacts very quickly as well. And there again comes in that cardinal energy of that cancer coming to play, where it just goes. It's the initiator. So sometimes he says things that he does truly mean. They come from his inner his inner heart and his inner soul, but they maybe necessarily shouldn't have come out at that time. It's like blocking a dam. Sometimes you just can't do it. Any questions on Cancer? If not, we'll move on to Scorpio. All right, no questions on Cancer. We shall move on. So, Scorpio. Scorpio is the next sign in the order of the water signs and in the order of creation as well. So, it is a fixed sign, meaning it is more stubborn, it's more stable, it's more fixed in one place, right? It is ruled by both Mars and Pluto. So, how does it get to rulerships? Well, traditionally, before before basically we discovered Pluto, Mars had ruled over the sign of Scorpio. When we discovered Pluto and we discovered its influence in astrology, we then assigned it to take over rulership over Scorpio. So this is the important piece to remember with any piece of astrology. It is man-made based off of observations and science, right? So we've taken science, we've observed its effects down on the world around us, and we are making delineations from that. But there are things that we in the human mind may not be able to consider yet. It's ever evolving. That's why I said right now we have 12 signs, but who knows what may happen in a couple of hundred years. It is always changing. So Scorpio is ruled by both Mars and Pluto because I consider both. I do not negate the thousands of years worth of delineations that we have with Mars and Pluto rather than, or with Mars and Scorpio rather than Pluto and Scorpio. So I consider both, and both take rulership over the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio represents stagnant water. It is basically water that is stuck or in one place. So it could be ponds, it could be puddles, it could be ice, It could be the cup of water that's been sitting on your table for too long. It could be I've had this spray sitting up there for God knows how long, right? That's scorpionic energy because it's stagnant water, a stagnant liquid that hasn't been moving. Um, Traditionally, it is associated to be with ice because it is kind of cold, and that's why Scorpio does get its cold tendencies. And I do also want to say that Scorpio does have its associations with being intense and being quite controlling, partially because of its rulers being Mars and Pluto. So Pluto is very intense, and it really wants to take control over everything. It kind of comes in and it just strong arms everything into what it wants. And that can be a little bit intense sometimes. And Mars wants to stand up. Mars is the god of war, right? So we have both of this energy coming into play when we're looking at Scorpios. So that's why a lot of times they're associated to be the intense sign of the water signs and the sign that is honestly one of the I would argue one of the second most hated, one of the top two most hated, that battling with Gemini and Scorpio most people dislike, but Scorpio partially because of its intensity and partially because of its controlling nature. So another thing, it is associated with the reproductive parts of the body. So we're looking at the groin area, and anything in that area, this is going to rule over. We are also looking at like any reproductive parts. So oh my god, I'm not I'm like failing on words right now. So you guys understand what I'm talking about. We'll leave it at that. Scorpio is correlated with the eighth house in astrology. So the eighth house in astrology is considered to be the house of death. It's also considered to be the house of reform. So a lot of times, or Jessica, I grew up hating Scorpio, being raised by two Scorpios, but I have a newfound love for Scorpios because of some of the amazing people I've met in this community. Yes. So the thing is Scorpios, when they're existing in their higher, and I appreciate you saying that, Jessica, because when Scorpios are existing in their higher state, they become intense with their higher vibration, right? Um, Oftentimes a Scorpio who's existing in their higher state is a Scorpio who has loosened the reins on their control. They may still be battling the control, but they're battling. The lower vibrational Scorpio has not battled that control. I said this in one of my lives that I did with Soul Guide Society, like I think a week ago. But part of Scorpio's journey is to battle its own ego as a sign in general, especially sun signs, Scorpio sun signs. Part of their journey is to battle their own ego, and Scorpios who don't battle their own ego remain in a lower vibration. Any Scorpio that you see who is existing in a lower vibration, you can pinpoint their ego right off the bat because they fail to recognize it or acknowledge it, right? Um, the Scorpio who is working through their ego is the Scorpio who is raising their vibration and existing at a higher vibration. And part of that is because of this correlation with the eighth house of the house of death and reform, right? So this house is where we find power in complete destruction. So when we take something and we completely tear it down, and then build something new and stronger up from that energy, that is scorpionic energy. When we are taking energy and completely breaking it down, destroying it, killing it essentially, and then rebuilding it, that is the scorpionic energy. Because sometimes in order for the most growth to happen, complete death has to occur. And that could be ego death, that could be financial death, that could be career death, whatever it be. It sometimes is a necessary energy in order for the most amount of growth. And this is again why Scorpio gets this kind of disdain from most people because they don't necessarily most people don't like the change that Scorpio brings because it brings a lot of loss before it brings the growth. So people kind of disdain this energy naturally, beyond somebody having it as their sun sign. I have it as my sun, my descendant, my Venus, and my Mercury. I've got four whole signs in or four whole placements in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio stellium here. Um, it is the eighth in zodiacal order, meaning it's the eighth sign in zodiac order. But when we're looking in the order of creation, it is the fifth sign in the order of creation, meaning it comes after Cancer, and after all the fire signs. It represents ages 49 to 56. It is really when that midlife crisis happens, is how a lot of people will put this. um, it is when the people kind of discover that death is imminent, or it is an essential part of life, when that transformation sometimes is completely needed. I do also want to say that this age is also when people are experiencing their second Saturn return. So it can be when things become like cycles come around to finish for the second time and new cycles can begin. So again, you see the scorpionic energy of cycles ending and new cycles beginning. It is Scorpio is all about the deep. It's all about the things that are hidden. It's all about the things that exist beyond the veil. I said that Cancer was the empath. Scorpio, it's the medium. Scorpio is the medium of the zodiac, right? It is the one that can clearly peek behind the veil, can clearly pull out the hidden, can hear what needs to be heard, can see what needs to be seen, can feel what needs to be felt, right? And that's why you'll never fool a Scorpio. You will never fool a Scorpio. But that also means that a Scorpio can be quite manipulative in their lower vibrational state, right? Because they can reach beyond that veil and they know exactly how to portray their energy so you receive it just the right way. Unless you're an intense psychic, Scorpios can be very hard to see through, extremely hard to see through, right? They are powerful, being ruled over by Mars and Pluto. And the scorpionic energy, it represents power within death and power within the things that exist beyond the veil. So that could be empathic abilities, that could be anything that exists beyond the veil of the physical realm, right? I do also want to say Scorpio, traditionally, because traditionally Taurus represents the physical world, Scorpio um, represents kind of. Okay, I'm trying to explain this right. The bottom half traditionally of the zodiacal wheel represents yourself. Traditionally, again, not modern wise. This top half represents the others, right? Didn't know you had a camera on my Scorpio. No, I'm talking from personal experience. As someone who's made his way from the lower vibrational and working his way to a higher vibrational Scorpio, I'm talking from personal experience. Um, so what we have here, the bottom half of the zodiac is basically the personal. The top half is the external, or the part that you have to deal with the other. When we are looking at Scorpio, it is opposite of Taurus. So Taurus represents personal kind of material world, the material world for yourself. Sometimes Scorpio can represent the external material world, and in modern astrology as well as traditional astrology, Scorpio does take on the role of debt, right? So debt a lot of times will sit somewhere in the sign of Scorpio because it takes on that energy there, or the eighth house. The eighth house or Scorpio both represent that debt because it's the shared finances. It's the finances that you borrow from others rather than the finances that you build for yourself. Um, but that's a side note. That's not really the prominent energy. That's more of a side note. The prominent energy here becomes the building from nothing, becomes the having to experience the absolute destruction in order to find absolute power. It's that transformation. Like I said, it exists between the veil of life and what comes after. It is loyal, it's extreme, but it's also seductive and magnetic, right? A Scorpio that knows how to project its energy well is a Scorpio that can pull you in with just a look. It doesn't need anything more than that. Its energy is enough to draw you in because of its magnetic nature. Um, think of it like when you picture the most beautiful ice glacier, right? Like mountains covered in ice and snow and all of that energy. That's the magnetic beauty that Scorpio can have. It's that alluring. It's that, ooh, I want to view this. I don't necessarily maybe want to get too close because that's a little bit too cold and I don't know what I'm going to experience there and it seems very extreme. But this is quite beautiful to experience. And that's the Scorpio in its higher vibration. So again, I do have another video here that I want you guys to sit back and listen to. I don't know how long they are, so we're just gonna experience them. Before we do that, though, does anybody have any questions on Scorpio? Scorpio is very intense and deep, and like I said, it is the investigator of the zodiac as well as the medium. Right? If anything, if we're gonna get specific, I would say it's the investigative medium. All right. So if not, get comfortable. Listen to this. Again, I'm going to shut my stuff off. All right. Um, so yeah, this is so mystical. I love it. I wanted to gallop with my horse. I didn't have fighting a war. I'm not with my sword. I agree. I can also see the whole story of Scorpio. I feel like that tearing down to rebuild sound. Yeah. It's it's like that destruction is sometimes needed, right? It can be intense. And the biggest thing that I liked when I was listening to this, because I go searching for these, I spend a lot of time searching for these. But the biggest thing that drew me in for this one was how when it first started, it was very low. It was very low and it was calm, but it kind of picked up and then it just came in intense. And that's the energy of Scorpio. It's magnetic, it's low, but then boom, it hits, right? And it can hit in a good or it can hit in a bad way. It's an intense energy that can bring inspiration, it can bring fear, it can bring destruction, but it can also bring the necessary things that we need in order to rebuild with a stronger foundation. It is mystical, and I love the name of this too. Music for uncovering dark mysteries. And that's what Scorpio energy is. It's uncovering not necessarily dark mysteries, but uncovering mysteries in general as a whole, right? It's extremely powerful in doing so. Nope, not again. So Joanne Martine Wolfold wrote in the only astrology book you'll ever need, that's the name of the book, wrote, listen to a Scorpio carefully with full attention. There's no way of faking it. Scorpios always know when you're pretending, and that will be the end before there's even a beginning. This is the power that the scorpionic energy has to see behind the veil. Even when you aren't pretending, when you're just trying to put on a mask, the Scorpio sees through. That scorpionic energy, when someone's tapping in and harnessing that scorpionic energy, they're seeing through that veil at all times. And that means seeing through any mask that you throw up. Um, Notable Scorpios can include Kendall Jenner, Drake, Scarlett Johansson, Katy Perry, and Caitlyn Jenner. Jessica, oh my goodness, that was my mom my whole life. It can be intense, and this is why a lot of times people don't like Scorpio because, again, a lower vibrational and an unethical Scorpio can see beyond the veil, and sometimes you don't always have to point out that the veil is there. Sometimes the veil is there to make that person feel sturdy enough to be able to exist in their world, right? It can be intrusive to peek beyond the veil and then tell someone, right? Because naturally that scorpionic energy cannot exist without peeking beyond the veil. So they are prone um in their lower vibration to just blurting that out, right? Um yeah. Yeah. So as they grow and evolve, they're still going to see beyond the veil. Don't get it twisted. She's still seeing everything. But as she's growing and learning and moving into that higher vibrational energy, you may see less and less of that intrusiveness come through. Because again, there comes that battle with the ego and the control that the Scorpio is doomed to face. They're always doomed to face that battle with the ego. They're always doomed to face the battle with control. Because the Scorpio energy is doomed to face that in of itself. That's the pure essence of Scorpio is to battle the ego and to battle um, all of this energy, right? All of this kind of controlling energy. But that also means that it has a tendency to try and control. Every sign exists in a duality. In the same sense where it tries to break free from the control that others try and put on it, it tries to control others. And it has this intense ability to look beyond the veil and see the things that are hidden. So the manipulation and the controlling factor becomes even more intense with scorpionic energy because of that. So my ex bestie is a Scorpio. We're back in contact now, but she was destructive within herself and with those around her. I'm super proud of how far she's come. This song definitely makes sense. Oh, I love that. I love that. And I love that we're seeing the stories of the Scorpios growing. And yes, that doesn't excuse anything that they've done, right? But I love seeing the stories of the Scorpio growing, and now I hope you can further understand their progression, right? So it's not just them growing there, it's them growing through the ego and the control and through the scorpionic energy, and they're moving through it as well. And again, that doesn't excuse anything. It just helps you to understand further. Any questions, clarifications, anything on scorpionic energy? All right. I see Diosa is typing, so I want to give my Scorpio needs holy water and endless Hail Marys. um, so from an astrological standpoint, Diosa, I don't know if you are familiar with astrology or with anything regarding, and this goes for anyone who's listening, right? If you are familiar with astrology and you know where to look, and you know with your like you're familiar with your chart, you know where to look in your chart. Find, and you're dealing with a Scorpio. I'm saying this particularly pertains to Scorpios. Scorpios are ruled by their Mars placement for the first 30 to 35 years in their life. Sometimes it can extend up to 40. So I'd say 30 to 40 years of their life. Mars takes over rulership of Scorpio. So when you are looking at the Scorpio that you have before you, if you're looking at their astrological chart, look at their sun placement, yes, being in Scorpio, but then look at their Mars, because that's influencing their Scorpio sun, right? Same thing if you are a Scorpio. Look at the Mars placement there. And then if you want to help the Scorpio loosen that control, as like you were just typing, what would be something that a parent could do to help the Scorpio child stay in the higher vibrational side? Um, Work with the Mars placement rather than trying to directly work with the scorpionic placement of the control. Work with the Mars placement. And this is why I'm bringing this up, because the Mars placement is going to have, if you work with the Mars placement, it's going to have an effect that does not directly feel like controlling to the Scorpio. I would say, being a parent of a Scorpio, you have to understand they are very fixed. They are extremely fixed, right? Um, it can be difficult. I'm not gonna lie, but helping them stay in the higher vibrational side means helping them understand the impacts of the things that they do, right? And the reason why I say Mars kind of rules over it first and look at their Mars is because during the younger years they're very, and I'm saying this as if I'm not still in my Mars like rulership. My Mars still rules over me, and my Scorpio placement, my Mars is in the sign of Aquarius, which is very rebellious and very independent and reformative and innovative. So for me, it then even furthers that scorpionic energy, right? So for me, the kind of key for me was my mom giving me the freedom that I needed in order to embrace my independence and letting my scorpionic side show through my own growth, right? So it varies. It really kind of varies depending on who you're looking at. And that's why I'm not going to give a general answer. You really want to look at that Mars placement and react accordingly to that Mars placement. Um, So with my Venus star point in Scorpio, some of those things would apply too. Yeah, so the Venus star point in Scorpio, if you, I forgot that, are you a Venus, like Scorpio Venus star point? I forgot. I do a lot of charts. My brain can't remember them all. I'm sorry. So, um, when you're looking at your chart, the thing that comes through with the Venus star point is the ability to pull out the hidden and the intensity that comes through transmutation and the fact that that intensity brings power. So you as a, I'm trying to find the right words for it. That's why I'm kind of like looking off. So you as a Venus star point um, has you have an ability to look beyond the veil naturally. You have an ability to find the points needed in order to transmute and find power both within yourself and within others. So again, you see this transmutation come through, this finding power, this possibly destruction in order for reform. So you may find general theme, and where you find the most power or where you can find the most power within you is areas where you had to find complete disillusion or complete destruction. Listen, this is so enlightening. Didn't realize this was her Scorpio. And today is day one of summer, and yeah, it's um, it can be intense. It can be intense, right? A lot of times, and like I said, they're battling with their Mars placement in these younger years as the Scorpio gets older. So I don't know if we have any older Scorpios in here that are like, well, what about me? Look to your Pluto placement. Your Pluto is going to rule over your later years in life. So after Mars kind of takes a step down, Pluto will take a step up and rule over the second half of your life, or the like second 2/3 of your life, depending on how long you live. So if you're around 30, 35, start looking and seeing, okay, do I resonate more with my Mars or do I resonate more with my Pluto, right? Because for me, my Pluto placement, yeah, it's there. I kind of resonate with it. But I can guarantee you, give me 20 years and I'll be resonating with my Pluto placement more than ever before. More than ever before. Mars will rule up until 30 to 40. It depends on everyone. It depends on per person. It's an individual case basis. So Mars will rule until the ages of 30 to 40 years old, and then Pluto will step in. Your Venus and Pluto is in Scorpio. Yeah, so I mean, when you're looking at rulership or domicile rulership, um, Mars, I would look at ruling over your Venus and your Pluto placements for the first, again, 30 to 40 years of your life. After that, look at Pluto ruling over, and Pluto becomes actually, so Pluto is in Scorpio, so you have Pluto in its place of dignification. So Pluto is in its home. It finds strength and power in that position, which is extremely cool to have because it becomes kind of personalized then. It becomes important. It becomes a important piece of your chart. I obviously can't speak too much on it because I don't know the remainder of your chart because there's many other pieces that go into it. But Pluto, at least being in Scorpio, seems important. Oh wow, so that's going to be a dramatic change. I'm gonna let you know, especially because Venus is how you value, what you hold true to your heart, what you love, right? And this is just me going off topic. I'm sorry, guys. I'll get back to the presentation here in a moment. But um, what'll happen or what you may see happen is for the first 30 to 40 years of your life, the way that you see love and the way that you value life or value love is going to show itself one way, and then right after that it's going to take a dramatic shift, and it's going to go very intensely deep um, into the sign of Scorpio. So expect that around 30 to 40 years old. You would look at that for every placement of Scorpio or just for Scorpio Sun, every placement of Scorpio. So that's how the rulership scheme works for Mars and Pluto because they both rule over Scorpio. Um, but Mars kind of takes prominent rulership for the first 30 to 40 years. Yes, Pluto will still have an effect, but Mars will take the prominent rulership for the first 30 to 40 years. Yeah, of course. All right, so now moving on to Pisces. So Pisces is the last of the water signs. It is a mutable sign, and I put it as the psychic, right? Because the psychic entails almost anything that we've already talked about. The psychic entails being an empath. The psychic entails potentially being a medium. all psychics are mediums, or what's the saying? All psychics or all mediums are psychics, not all psychics are mediums. But Pisces, there being a psychic can entail being a medium. So Pisces is ruled over by Jupiter and Neptune. Jupiter is the planet that expands everything that it touches, right? So if Jupiter touches this, it expands it, it makes it into this big, magnificent, and turns it into better quality, higher standard, bigger in general. It exalts it. That's the function of Jupiter. Neptune's function is to be this imaginative, elusive, dreamy energy. Neptune is all about the things that truly exist beyond the veil. If Scorpio exists between the veil, Pisces is everything that exists beyond the veil, right? So we are looking at extreme depths and extreme changeability. When we're looking at the physical representation of this, of Pisces, we're looking at extreme depths and changeability in water. So where the river meets the ocean, where the different layers of the ocean meet, the vast ocean itself, the fact that it's this huge, vast thing that extends and covers what 70% of or 95% of the earth or something like that. And it just encompasses everything. The fact that it exists within all humans, and humans are made of 70% of water. It is the fact that it is this immersive thing that exists everywhere, right? Um, Neptune, I want to go back to Neptune because I feel like I skipped over that. I feel like I skipped over that a little bit. Neptune is all about the elusive. Like I said, it's all about the dreamy. When we are looking at imagination, look towards Neptune. When we are looking at dreams, look towards Neptune. When we're looking at the subconscious nature, look towards Neptune. Spirituality, not religion, spirituality. Um, Sagittarius more rules over religion than anything else, but Pisces rules over spirituality, right? Same thing with Neptune. Neptune has that spirituality essence, and that's why Pisces gets its association with spirituality is because of that Neptune connection. Here's where it gets tricky with Pisces. Pisces is very elusive. So all of my Pisces, we got a lot of Pisces people out here. I can guarantee it's hard to nail each and every single one of you down unless you've got some heavy earth placements. I can guarantee it is hard. And it is. I love y'all. I do. But damn, it's hard to pin you down. um, they can be. They are consuming. They are consuming. I like that wording. They are consuming. This is why a Pisces tends to be independent or by themselves a lot. They like their isolated space. Pisces in general likes their isolated space. This is because they become immersed in whatever area or energy they surround themselves in. Like a basically water, like the form of water, whatever place you put it in, it's going to take the shape of, right? So it just kind of smooths, it just kind of blends in. This is also why a lot of times Pisces becomes the chameleon of the zodiac because it kind of just takes whatever shape container you put it in. But that also means that it's hard to get a hold of, right? Ever tried picking up water with your bare hands? That's like nailing down a Pisces person. Um, it is very hard to do. You can't. It's hard to get them to be reliable. They are the escape artists, right? Because of this energy. Why is this also? Well, Jupiter rules over everything. I told you that Jupiter expands upon everything that it touches. Jupiter has a tendency to also say yes to everything. Jupiter says yes to everything. It doesn't have a tendency to, it says yes to everything. Being that it rules over Pisces, Pisces' response to Jupiter is to hide so it doesn't have to say yes. This is where the escape artist's energy comes in yet again, right? This is why they tend to be so independent. This is why they tend to be so isolated because they know that if they're asked, they'll feel an obligation to say yes because they have that drive within them being ruled over by Jupiter. So they just avoid it entirely by staying home. They escape it at every chance possible, right? And that's the energy of Pisces coming in. It's that Jupiter meeting that Neptune, that expansion upon that elusiveness, that expansion upon that dreamy, that expansion upon that you're existing beyond the veil, that I can't physically touch you. I know you're there, but I can't actually get to you. And this is where that comes from, right? Um, avoidance and escapism are both a part of this Pisces energy because they don't want to have to say yes. They don't want to be put in that position at all. So they just escape, right? Um yeah, yeah. I'm reading all the comments right now. Sorry, I was tapped out there for a little bit. My mom is a Pisces, my fave with her psychic self. Yeah, it's heavy out in people land. I ain't gonna lie, that's me. I feel so seen. I avoid. Yes, avoidance is huge. My mom finding a reason to stay home. She just complained about someone talking too much, but still went into the building. Yeah, it's they don't. They know that if they have to say yes, right? But they don't want to put themselves in the position that they need to. So you hate saying no. So instead of putting myself in a position to have to say it, I isolate. Exactly, exactly. That is the pure essence of Pisces coming through because it is also dreamy. It is also imaginative and elusive. It is the energy of a daydream, right? Take the energy of a daydream, Pisces. That's Pisces all the way. Just the energy of that daydream. It's associated because we were talking about the physical correlations. If you're talking about the physical body, Pisces is also talking about the feet. Well, what does the feet do? The feet connects you with everything that you stand upon, everywhere that you go, right? Every movement that you make with your feet, it's that movement that again, because it's a mutable sign. Everything that you do, it has that connection. When you go in water, what's the first thing you put in? Your feet. That's the first thing to become immersed. So when you're looking at the physical representation of Pisces, it's the feet. My friend, he's a Pisces and definitely hates saying no to me, so he told me that. Yeah. Pisces people just don't text back. They just don't text back. You got to be on them. You've got to be on them. You got to make them feel like they have to respond because otherwise they'll just keep escaping the situation. They will. It is scarily true how much that's needed. Um, so they are correlated with the 12th house. So when we are looking at the houses, the 12th house represents the subconscious, it represents spirituality, it represents things that exist beyond the veil as well. All of this take up that energy. Pisces is the 12th in zodiacal order, meaning it wraps up the cycle of the zodiac. When we're talking about life stages, it represents ages 77 to 84, but it also represents the transition that one's soul makes from the physical body to the spiritual realm, right? So the act of actually transitioning exists within Pisces. So when we are talking about the transition itself, that's Pisces. When they have transitioned over to the other side, that's Aries energy because they have found new life on the other side. They have found a rebirth of their soul on the other side once they've transitioned. But the transition itself is that Pisces energy. Like I said, it's like that river going back into that ocean. You're that river. When you transition, you become part of that ocean again. That celestial soul energy. Um, so it is the sixth in the order of creation. Advice for people with a Pisces child: give them space to be imaginative. Don't force their hand in doing things. Um, they need they need their own little cubby. They need their own little cubby. I mean that by like it could be their own little room. It could be a little closet that they can go into, and that's just their personal space. They need their space. And they need to know that when they're in their space, that space is going to be respected, right? So respected space is going to be huge with a Pisces child. But because they also have this energy of immersion, they also have a tendency to want to be immersed in your energy. So they can be clingy as well because they want to be completely immersed. It's the one that's always dreaming, right? It's the child that you have that you can never get paying attention because it's dreaming. Find a way to get them to express their imagination so that they can expunge that energy, right? Because if they're constantly daydreaming, if they're constantly coming up with stories, they need a place to expunge that Pisces energy. They have that Neptune ruling over them, meeting Jupiter, right? They need to be able to expunge that. They need their bubble and they need that. So maybe it's a closet that they can go and they can draw and they have paper and they have like crayons. Maybe drawing is their thing. I don't know. Maybe it's music. Maybe they have a room that they can go into and they can sing and dance as loud as they want without any judgment. They come out of that room, nobody heard a thing. They just had their space. They did their own thing. They let out their creation. They let out their imagination, right? Maybe it's acting. Maybe they literally and I did this as a kid. Maybe they have to create stories and act them out in their room. I I know all of us did. I know most of us did this as a kid. And our parents would walk in and we're like, we wasn't doing nothing. We wasn't doing nothing. I was just standing here. I wasn't creating no story. No, no, no. They need that time, right? Yeah, yeah. It's they create those stories, and if they have heavy Pisces placement, whether or not they're Pisces themselves, if they have that heavy Pisces placement, they have that heavy imagination energy. They have that heavy daydream energy, that heavy just needing to flow and feel like they can just immerse themselves in whatever they're doing. For me, music, I put my headphones in and I'm locked out. Don't even try and talk to me. Do not even try and talk to me. I put my headphones in and that like if I have a classical song on, like what I do here, I go on mind journeys off the time, like often. I'll just put my headphones on and I'll go on mind journeys, or I can literally visualize and feel my energy moving around me. And that for me is my Neptune energy in play. It's my not imagination, but it's my imaginative mind. It's the spiritual mind. It's the one that's just flowing, just connecting and just immersing with the energy that it feels itself need to immerse into, right? So like I said, it's spiritual, it's imaginative, it's elusive, it's dreamy, it's immersive, it's consuming, it's flowing, and it's unknowing. It's all unknowing. When you look into the ocean and you look down, and there's a point where it becomes pitch black, the light no longer can go any further down. It is absolute darkness. That is again Pisces energy. It is that complete immersion of the unknown, right? Yeah, you need a safe space. You need that space where you could just be your Pisces energy and immerse in your own energy. Think of it this way. Um, Someone has taken glass and pressurized the water. Because, like I said, Pisces takes whatever form you put it in. So they put it into glass and they've pressurized that water. That is what you do every day in order to interact with the environment around you as a Pisces. You need to be able to go back into your own space and remove that pressure and pour out the water and just let it spill and just let it be its natural self. Otherwise, that pressure will eventually break and that glass will shatter and then it comes pouring out. And that's when you get the Pisces who unloads all of their emotions onto you, or adversely completely shuts you out and just goes complete dead silent for 2 weeks. Right? Give space for that Pisces to empty out their water and just be the free form that they need to be. That's how you deal with any Pisces. Let any not just children. That's how you work with Pisces energy. All right, I'm not going to start this yet. I'm just going on to the next slide. That was me and my best friend our whole lives. I wanted Erlen to give her space. Yeah, they genuinely do need it. My best friend is a Pisces, and I can agree with that. Yeah, it's not a hidden fact with Pisces. I feel like part of their elusive nature, because part of their personality, like, oh yeah, we told them 1 o'clock. I know we aren't meeting till 2:30, but we told them one because, well, they're not going to be here. They've got no sense of time. Like they're dreaming. They're out in their own dream world somewhere. Um, it's scarily accurate how bad they are at. I love y'all, but it's scary. Y'all are really bad at schedules. Hearts, y'all are bad at schedules. Time blindness, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the daydreamer. You lose track of time completely when you're daydreaming. Jobs with cubicles should have to take an astrology class. They thought I was so mean. Just no, no, no. You just needed your own space. You needed to be able to have your time dedicated to you. You don't like people coming up and knocking at your door. Oh, I thought it was because she possibly has ADHD. Oh, that is possible too. That is possible. But if she's got heavy Pisces energy, that's also probably too. Yeah. Yep. My sister's got heavy Gemini and Pisces energy, and we literally tell her an hour in advance in anything we're doing. So if we're meeting at 2, we're meeting at 1. 3:30? Nope, we're meeting at 2:30. Because forget it. Forget it. Don't even try and get her on time. All right. I'm going to play this again. Sit back, listen. This was again one of my favorites to try and find, and I think it encapsulates, or am I saying that right? I think it captures the energy of Pisces very well. So I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna turn off my stuff and just enjoy. Well, one, that flash has never happened before in the entire, like, I've watched this like several times. I actually had it on repeat while I was writing, like while I was like putting together the slideshow because I like to have like the energy playing in the background. Um, and that's never happened before, until now. So yeah, message, visit from spirit, I guess. So, Munia Khan said, "We Pisceans know how to swim without water, because truly you are traversing this world, beyond the veil, right? You are traversing this world beyond the physical realm. You are existing in the realm of the spiritual. You're existing in the realm of the subconscious. You're existing in the realm of the imagination and the dreamy. You are truly spiritually swimming without water. And yes, we all kind of are doing that in an essence, but heavy Piscean people, it just comes through, right? It comes through with you more than kind of any other sign. So notable Pisces people include George Washington, Albert Einstein, John Travolta, Rihanna, and Olivia Rodrigo. And part of the thing that I wanted to emphasize here with having some notable people in each section is no sign is better than the other at producing one thing or another, right? Um, each sign has its qualities that you can take and do kind of what you will with it, what your soul wants with it. And that's the kind of point of this. I want people to walk out of all my presentations having a deeper understanding for each of the signs and moving away from the stigma that we've created against some signs, as well as moving away as some of the more fickle knowledge that we have about the sun signs and what they are. I want you guys to truly understand the energy of the signs themselves. And that's why I include, and I talked about this last time in my last presentation, and this will be in all of my presentations. So if you were in my last presentation, you probably recognize this map or this screen here. A trine is an astrological aspect in astrology that occurs when two planets, and I'll actually read here. A trine is an astrological aspect that occurs when two planets are 120 degrees apart and share the same element. A trine symbolizes a favorable union and a harmonious flow of energy between the planets involved. And a trine can indicate how different areas of life, such as communication, love, money, career, are linked and supported by each other. So a trine, if we're looking at my wheel here, I have a few trines. I have a trine between Jupiter and Mercury, Jupiter and Venus, because there's some degree of variance that's allowed as well. And then I have a trine between Jupiter and my Black Moon Lilith as well. And this has a trine to my sun. So I have what's known as a grand trine between these three positions, which creates a very strong, harmonious flow of energy between all of these three psychic connections. So the reason why I brought this up is because I want you to understand that this flow of energy between all of these water signs, and the same thing with the fire energy, it all exists within each and every single one of us. All of these signs exist within each and every single one of us. You have this flow of energy. You have all of these capabilities within you, right? And yeah, they may not be as prominent as someone who has their sun sign there, because your sun sign is your soul and your vitality and your personality and your pure essence in this incarnation. So when all of that gets combined in a sign, yeah, you're more bound to show it more prominently. But just because you don't have your sun sign in it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist somewhere in your chart, because it does, and you have that ability in you. I was just having a conversation with someone the other day. Um, I might get a message after this, but I was just having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were saying how they felt like they didn't have any any of the grounding nature in their chart. in order to be able to naturally have that ability to be extremely organized and on time and efficient. And part of that comes from not understanding where the energy exists within your chart, right? So understanding that it exists somewhere and you can find it, and it may take a little bit of extra work and some meditation. And like having presentations like this helps because then you can go back to these videos and you can meditate under them. But it exists within you, and it's important to understand that flow. I forget where I was going with this. I feel like this was a spirit-led message because I feel like I came back and I don't know what I was saying. But you have a very harmonious flow between all of these energies, and it exists within you. And when you feel like something is lacking or you don't like that energy, understand that it exists within you somewhere as well, and you just don't like that representation of that energy, right? So, with that being said, the next presentation that I have is going to be on the Earth signs. It'll be this upcoming Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, and I do also offer personal readings, and and I'm going to correct this, I have one spot left in my mentorship. One spot. So if you want it, apply. I do have a wait list. So if you end up getting waitlisted, I'll message you if if the spot opens, or B, when the next mentorship becomes available. But definitely go and apply if you want to have a more in-depth kind of teaching of this. But yeah, that's water signs, y'all. I know this was long, but that's water signs. They are emotional, they are intense, they are psychic, they are intuitive. There's nothing you're going to get past a water sign, except maybe a Pisces, because they're not necessarily always presently here. They're energetically tapped in at all times, but they're not necessarily presently here. Let's put it this way: a Pisces can walk into a room and tell you if everyone's having a good time, but they can't tell you who's in the room. Oh, yeah, it should be air signs. I'm sorry. I put the wrong thing. It should be air signs. You are totally right. Thank you for correcting me on that. Because air signs is the next in the order of creation, and I wanted to do it in the order of creation. But here's the thing. You said you're almost never present on this plane of existence, honestly, but I can almost tell you with a guarantee that when a major energy shift occurs, you're aware of it. If it's in the room, if it's in a conversation, even if you're not present and like aware of the actual conversation or like aware of what's actually going on, energetically you are. And that's the thing with Pisces. They are constantly flowing and they're energetically constantly immersed with their environment. So they're always going to feel what their environment is feeling. So if they walk into a room and everyone's presenting a good face and putting on like a good show, but that's not actually who they are. They're all being fake. The Pisces is going to know that everyone's being fake, but they won't be able to tell you the names of anybody that's in the room because they didn't pay attention enough. Right? Um, yes. So is that the heavy intuitive part going on? Yes. Heavy intuitive comes with that Pisces. My mom read my mind once. Yes, they can peek into your subconscious. That's the thing with Pisces too. They have that domain over the subconscious. It can be scary. It can be very scary. Can't get past them. They're gonna feel it. They're gonna feel it. But those small details, like physically, I don't know where you put your comb. I don't know. I'm not paying attention. Somewhere in the house, maybe. Maybe it's in a bag. Maybe you dropped it on the side of the road. I don't know. Where are my keys? Also, didn't I have an appointment today? exact exact memo of a Pisces. But I know you're lying to me about that conversation that we had the other day, because it was something that's hiding beneath those eyes. Again, the energy of a Pisces coming through. Or they'll have dreams. Yes, the dreams of a Pisces. The dreams of a Pisces. Oftentimes prophetic. but oftentimes intuitive. Not necessarily prophetic, but things that they should have picked up on during the day that they didn't pick up on during the day, that their intuition is now screaming at them at in their dreams because they have that connection. I have an AirTag on my keys. I was gonna get that for my partner. But all right, does anybody have any questions on any more questions on the water signs before we wrap up? If not, I look forward to seeing um, everyone. If you can't make it, that's fine. But I look forward to seeing everyone's lovely faces on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to go over the air signs. We are going over Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Geminis, I love them. I love Geminis. Honestly, they're my favorite. But all right, have a good night, y'all. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. We're going over it Sunday, so be here, Jay. All right, bye, y'all.